it was in a dark place because, I kind of felt like all of a sudden when I fell and my neck was broken, 6 months later, now I know I'm okay. But when I fell back then, they didn't know the prognosis in terms of how long it would take to recover. So I kind of didn't know, like, am I going to be able to go back to nursing school? What does life look like now? How am I going to make money? How am I going to, help people? Because, that's something that's so important to me. So, I had this plan and it just fell apart.
Hey, welcome back to Normalize the Conversation. Today I'm here with Emma Aders, founder of End The Silent Epidemic, a youth suicide prevention campaign providing original mental health educational content, suicide prevention activism initiatives, and resources for mental wellness. To learn more about End The Silent Epidemic, visit their website, www.endthesilentepidemic.org. Emma, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you really?
Well, Fran, I just want to start by saying that this being here is such an honor. Your campaign actually it's very much something that I want to emulate. It's kind of served as a definitely an inspiration, and quite honestly, I've looked at it as I've built my campaign. I'll get to this, but I only started back in January. It's really only been 6 months, and when I started, again, I'll get a little more into this, but it wasn't at all something I planned to turn into something like a full-blown campaign. So as it's developed, your campaign has actually been so important to me in terms of kind of looking at next steps to take and how to kind of expand to become something that is actually helping people and not that's actually addressing the issue. So being here means the world to me, and you personally as a mental health warrior, a mental health advocate, are someone I look up to. So thanks for having me, and I'm just so excited to be here.
Emma, you are so sweet. Thank you so much. I don't have words. That was so sweet. I love that Inspiring My Generation can be some kind of inspiration for you. And I love what you're doing, what your goal is, the work that you are starting, and the campaigns and initiatives that you have created in such a short time. You are going to help so many people, and I'm just honored to get to be part of the audience watching you grow and bloom.
That means everything. Hearing that from you is just like, but I hope that is true. It's so my goal when I started this out, I guess, should I start kind of maybe just where I started from?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Is that okay with you? So, it's so funny when you say I'm going to help so many people, because I hope that is true. But one of the things that's so awesome is that my goal when I started this was that if I help, not even save the life of, just help one person, to me that genuinely feels like everything I've done is worthwhile, right? Because to me, each human life is worth so much. So one human life, if I can make a difference in one human life, to me that's worth all the effort in the world. So, the idea of helping a lot of people is just like, would be a dream come true. But helping, and anyone that I touch with this campaign, it just means the world. And so.
It's so true that every single life you help you're changing someone's world. And that's an honor. And I am so proud of you and your goals. But I'd really love to learn, what inspired you to start End The Silent Epidemic?
Yeah, so, it's so interesting. So I have come to be a very strong believer in the term, everything happens for a reason. And I know people sometimes say that as a throwaway, like, oh, everything happens for a reason. And they say it and try and kind of make you, like, when something tough happens, and it sometimes can feel like a blow off. So when I say it, I've come to learn that because one of I think the second part of that sentence is that everything happens for a reason, but you might not know the reason for a really long time. Yeah. And that's so important to remember, because a lot of the things that have happened in my life that were so difficult, I now understand they happened because I was meant to found End the Silent Epidemic, and I was meant to fight for mental health and youth suicide. And that's the reason, because, while it doesn't erase the bad things that happened to me, and it doesn't suddenly mean that those things weren't terrible and hard, it gives them great meaning and a new lens to look at it through. And it allows me to feel like, well, I'm, while I don't look back and think, wow, I wish that could happen again, I certainly feel like I understand why that happened, and I'm going to turn it into something good. So to be more specific, one of those things was that in January, I've been enrolled in nursing school. It's actually my second degree. So my first degree was from Boston University in psychology. So I've been very, very interested in mental health. I am 30. So my first degree I got right out of high school. I went to BU at 18, got my psychology degree. So, that's how long I've been interested in mental health, very long time. But long story short, I was in an accident. I wanted to be a doctor and graduated and got admitted to medical school. But unfortunately, I was in an accident. And because the recovery took so long, I decided instead of becoming a doctor, I would become a nurse, because it's just a slightly less, it doesn't take as long. And I kind of wanted to get to the part where I was actually helping people, because by the time I recovered, I was 26, and I wanted to kind of get to the part where I was actually out, doing the work. So I enrolled in nursing school, and I started nursing school about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And in January, I was on Christmas break, and I only had 3 months left before I was supposed to graduate. And I fell and I broke my neck in 2 places. So this is one of those examples of, like, when I say everything happens for a reason, at the time, if someone had said that to me, I would have been like, that's not what I want to hear right now. Because it was hard. It was a tough break. I had 3 months left, and I felt, I was so close. Because nursing is so physical, I could not return. I had to take a leave of absence. It wasn't a choice. And obviously, I would like to say I'm so lucky. It's been 6 months, and I'm obviously doing very well, all things considered. So I'm so lucky and happy about that. But how this relates to End the Silent Epidemic is 2-part, which is that I was in a dark place, because, I kind of felt like all of a sudden, when I fell and my neck was broken, 6 months later, now I know I'm okay. But when I fell back then, they didn't know the prognosis in terms of how long it would take to recover. So I kind of didn't know, like, am I going to be able to go back to nursing school? What does life look like now? How am I going to make money? How am I going to, help people? Because, that's something that's so important to me. So, I had this plan, and it just fell apart. Right. So I've had that happen before in my life. The same thing kind of happened with medical school. And when that happened before, it took me down, and it took me to a rough place. So I really thought, I said, I can kind of go one of two ways here. I can, kind of fall apart, or what's something else I could do. And I woke up, a couple days later, and I was all braced up with my neck, and I was like, you know what, I always feel best when I help other people. That's just something that makes me feel better. And I'm not saying that because I'm like trying to be like, oh, I'm such a good person. It's just genuinely, sometimes when you stop thinking about yourself and just kind of take time and look outside yourself, it can just be it can be a good way to kind of get some relief. It really can, especially if you're having a hard time. So that was kind of where I started with End the Silent Epidemic, and I had no expectations. I just, I was like, I think I just want to start a community and an Instagram handle where I just put positivity out into the world, where I, just am authentic about my journey, where I hopefully can just, help other people feel like, if they're struggling, that I'm there. So that's where it started. That simple. That was my first goal.
That is wow. So first of all, I am so sorry that you fell and broke your neck. And that was so recent. So I am, first of all, wow, you're doing so well. And
I'm lucky, yeah.
And with during that time, I mean, that I imagine that has to be so painful. And during that time, in the middle of all that pain and all that disappointment, you were like, let me start something to help other people. That is an incredible pain to purpose story. And that just shows how amazing and genuine and authentic of a person you are, and how much room you have to make a difference. You are going to make such a difference. And with End the Silent Epidemic, one thing that I really love about it is, first of all, the name, because silence is where we live in with mental health. Silence is a killer, and I don't think people realize that. By not talking about it, we are teaching people to suppress everything and hold it inside of them, and to feel ashamed of it, and to feel guilty, so that they can't reach out for support. If they reach out, they're weak. So by ending the silence, I think that is such a key way to reduce our suicide rates. So now that we know a little bit more about why you started this campaign, what are some of the current initiatives that you are running?
Absolutely. Well, so thank you for pointing that out. And that's one of the reasons your campaign meant so much to me, is because that's such a huge part of your campaign is ending the stigma. I feel like that's kind of like a simplified version of what you just said. It's much more than that, but that's such a strong part of your campaign, and one of the parts of your campaign that I just really inspires me. And I find that also to be one of the most important things that we have to do if we consider ourselves mental health advocates. So thank you for pointing that out, and please know that a lot of my inspiration for understanding the importance of that and having the courage to do that has been from the fact that your campaign and campaigns like yours have done that first. So so current initiatives. So this is, I get so excited because, people often ask, they're like, isn't it so depressing to, talk, or, be spending all your time researching and talking about and working with youth suicide? And I find it actually quite the opposite, because first of all, the mental health community is, in my opinion, people are authentic. That's what I find, is that people are authentic. People are not just constantly, they might be depressed or they might be happy. It's not, if you look at your timeline, it's not just people writing, just constant sad poetry, although sometimes you might see a sad poem. It's just that people are being emotionally authentic. And that is so refreshing and so rare. And so I find the community to actually be very uplifting. And I find it to be a place where people, really, it's not competitive. People are always trying to lift each other up, whereas in other industries, it's like, like you and I, right? Like we have similar campaigns. And if in other industries, we might be like competing and trying to like, whatever, but it's like, you're bringing me on your show and trying to make my campaign get some attention, because at the end of the day, we just want to help more people. So I'm sorry, I know this isn't exactly what you asked, but it just brought me to, I love that about the mental health community, how positive it can be, and how people really try and uplift each other, and how much people kind of try and collaborate and work together. But to get back to your question, some specific initiatives. So the one I'm really excited about, and I would love it. It's not getting a lot of attention right now, which makes total sense, because we only started in January. But I feel like it has so much potential. So I want it to catch on, and I hope it will catch on. So maybe in February, the CEO of this app called the Love Bomb app, so he sent me a video message through the Love Bomb app. You don't have to have the app to receive a message, because so you can send a text, a video, or what's it called? Like a voice recording. And if you send it through the app, you can send it to someone's text inbox, email, Instagram DM, and it'll arrive as if it were just, coming like a normal text or whatever. So in my inbox, I got a video message from this man, and it was like a 30-second video where he essentially just said, thank you so much for what you're doing for, young people, and the work you're doing for kindness and authenticity. And it meant so much to me. And when I looked him up and I looked up the app, I was kind of blown away, because he's a former Showtime executive, and he was the CEO. So I was like, wow, usually you think of like an intern or someone sending something like that. I'd never thought it would have been like the actual founder of the app. So I downloaded the app and I started using it myself. Its original purpose is it's a kindness and connection app. Mark, who's the founder of the app, he left his career at Showtime, and founded this app with his own money during COVID, because the point of it was finding connection in an age where we're becoming less and less connected, right? So the point of Love Bomb is, so it's kind of evolved because we've partnered up, but the original purpose of it was to send messages of kindness once a day, or as often as you can, to the people you love. And it just, it makes it easier by, there are graphics in there. There are prompts, like, for example, it might say like, what's your favorite memory with Fran? Or, so it just kind of gives you ideas to help you start conversations and send specific things to your friends and loved ones to just make them know that you're thinking about them and make them feel cared about. So I was using the app, and I thought to myself, if this were tweaked just a little bit, it could be such an amazing kind of suicide prevention tool. And I was like, this isn't going to happen in my wildest dreams, but I was like, you know what, whatever, I'll DM him. So I DM'd him and I just said, I have this idea, and I know it's totally out there, but you know, I just thought I'd say it. And he got back to me, and you know, I couldn't believe it, but he wanted to do it and he loved it. He felt like it was so in line with kind of the the basis of what the app is about. And so to kind of I would love it if you would visit the website, because what we try and do is we've laid it out in just 4 steps. Like if you log onto the website, you can literally sign up and become part of it in like 1 or 2 minutes, because it's so easy. So the way it works, and we're going to try and essentially we want to develop the app out even more to make it even to have even more suicide prevention aspects. But right now, it's very simple. You just download the app. It's free. It's just Love Bomb app. And then the idea is that every Friday we release a graphic that is specific to kind of, it's specific to making someone feel like they're valued and cared about and loved. And we call it Friends for Life Friday. And every Friday, we ask that you choose just one person, the same person. And every Friday you send them that graphic, or it doesn't have to be that graphic, but that graphic and a personalized message, or just a message, a voice recording, whatever you want. And of course, we'd love it if you use Love Bomb, but frankly, it doesn't have to be through Love Bomb. The idea is really just we're trying to get this idea of regular mental health check-ins by friends on friends, because of 2 really important statistics, which is first, 67% of youth tell another youth about any suicidal ideations before they seek help from an adult. And then the second piece where the idea came from is that research has definitely shown, and this is especially true in youth, that that people are much more likely to open up if they are asked than if they have to seek help. And if it's a regular thing, especially, it gets back to that thing we were talking about stigma, where if we're regularly talking about mental health every week and making it kind of cool by like sending cool graphics and having it be through like a cool app and posting it to social media, it takes the stigma away from it and almost makes it like this cool thing that like, oh, do you have Love Bomb? Like, have you sent your check-in this week? And it stops being this stigmatized thing and starts being this thing like, it's cool to check in on your friends and make sure they're okay, So sorry, that was I went into detail, but I'm just so excited about it.
I absolutely love that initiative. First of all, those 2 statistics, wow. And it's so true. Kids especially are more likely to open up to their peers than they are to an adult, because it's scary to open up to an adult and you don't know how they're going to react. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with adults because they expect you to do so well and be this person, and you don't want to let them down. And sometimes you don't have the words to express yourself, but with your peers, it's easier because you feel like they really know you and understand you. So if we could help kids open up to each other and teach them how to ask each other, how are you? How to check in with each other is so, so important. And I love that you have partnered with the Love Bomb app to really help make that possible.
Thank you. That means so much. And I couldn't agree more. And, one of the things I've tried to do, I'm really grateful. I want to make sure I mention, I have 3 teammates, which is so cool that just since January, I already have 3 people who have joined and are spending, volunteering their time to be part of this. And one of the earliest person to join was this 16-year-old named Ava, 16 years old. And she's like such a mental health warrior. I just adore her. And I really, yes, I'm a youth because I'm 30. So I, you know, when I say youth, because the statistic, one thing I really wanted to mention was that the other, when you said what started End The Silent Epidemic, so it was definitely the thing I mentioned earlier. But the other thing is, the semester before I broke my neck when I was in nursing school, I happened to be taking mental health nursing, and I heard the statistic early on into the semester that suicide is now the second leading cause of death in youth 10 to 34. And there has not been a single day since I learned that statistic that I haven't thought about it. And I would say that was probably the day that I realized that this had to be what my life was about. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. If it's such a disturbing statistic, but that was a monumental day when I learned that, because I couldn't get it out of my head, and once I learned that, when I thought, and the part that, so the only thing that is causes more deaths is motor vehicle accidents. So that means that there isn't a single physical disease that causes death, that causes more deaths than suicide in our youth. So when I learned that, that was it for me. I was like, this is what my life is going to be about. So one thing that's been so that statistic, so like I said, that the statistic is 10 to 34. So as a 30-year-old, I do fall into that. But one thing I've tried to do is, since the beginning, I try to talk to Ava, like we actually talk almost every day, because I want to get like the perspective of someone who is, really, like, because, she's 15 years younger than me. So, even though I am a youth, like we have very different challenges, right? So as I've built this campaign, I've tried to make sure that I run everything by her. And so that what you just brought up about how hard it is for young people to bring up mental health to parents or adults, that is something that is just so ubiquitous and true that I've seen from, Ava has brought it up, and then I've seen it reflected back in conversations on Instagram and stuff like that. Is, people really struggle feeling like their parents support them, and obviously not everyone. There are people who have great parents when it comes to mental health, but it's actually interesting so one of the main things that End The Silent Epidemic does that I'm really proud of is we put out educational reels. We try and do it. We do it right now. We're doing 3 weeks out of every month, so almost every week. And when we asked what the first one should be about, it was like unanimously, almost, people wanted it to be about getting their parents kind of on board. So getting parents educated about what the issue is, learning about the importance of destigmatizing the home, and just kind of, if we did a specific one, if you look on the website, essentially making your parent into a mental health advocate, having your parent really be your own cheerleader and advocate for mental health, instead of being someone who you're afraid to go to and afraid is actually going to maybe make it worse, So
it is so true that parents need to be educated, and it's not because they don't want to know better. It's not because they want to be invalidating or not have a safe space. It's because they weren't taught. They grew up in a world where the stigma was even worse than it is now. So it's so important that while we continue to work on helping the youth, we help them by also helping their parents learn how to create that safe space, because we can get it into school systems. We can have these conversations on social media. But when a kid goes home, if they still don't have that safe space, we're still missing a very, very important piece, because your parents are two of the most influential people in your life.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more, Fran. I just think I just couldn't think, I think that is such an important factor. And it actually brings me, so that particular reel that I just mentioned, you can sign up for updates on the website, but because of that issue, I set up a specific sign up so that you can input your parents' email address and we'll send them just that specific reel. So if you go to End the Silent Epidemic and just go to original content, and it's under something, so I'll just quickly say, I mentioned that there are 3 teammates that I have. So the other 2, so Ava is, she's our head of youth content, and we have been trying, it's not every single week, but we do host these lives called Youth Perspective, where she sits down with one of her peers, so one of her fellow classmates, so someone else who's a high schooler essentially, and they talk about a topic in mental health. And it's like I said, it's a way to keep End the Silent Epidemic grounded in actual youth perspectives, right? But the other 2 teammates that I have are so I mentioned that we release 3 reels a month. So I write one, and then my other 2 teammates each write one. So one of my teammates, her name is Nancy Cowden, and she's actually a therapist with 30 years of experience. So I feel so lucky to have her. We call her the campaign therapist. And she writes a reel called Mental Health in Real Life. And it's kind of, so this is a statistic that just makes me angry, to be honest. 80% of youth with a diagnosable mental health issue go without proper mental health treatment. So, that's something that we plan to have our advocacy focused on in the future. But since that's obviously going to be a long-term fight, one of our solutions in the short term is to provide education, and specifically her reels are, and let me make it clear, obviously there's no substitute for real therapy. Like, we're not saying, oh, if you read these, like, you don't have to get a therapist. Absolutely not. But because so many people can't afford therapy, or can't find a therapist, or can't get a car to go to therapy, whatever the barrier is, she produces a reel each month that is kind of the clinical perspective. So for example, this month it was, do I have anxiety, or am I just worrying? That's not the exact title, but so it essentially, it deals with, issues that you wish you could ask a therapist, and like I said, she has 30 years of experience specifically with youth. So we're really lucky to have her. You could, and by the way, all of this is 100% free, and all of it's online and on Instagram. So wherever it's easiest for you to find it, we feel like that's our contribution to the global mental health community, is to take this kind of more complex issues and one of the unique aspects is we take these complex things and we break them down into approximately 10 slides. And so that, it's something that young people, I feel like young people don't necessarily want to like sit down and read a long, 15-page peer-reviewed article, right? But if it's just like a 10-slide Instagram reel, we can get life-saving information across that while they're just scrolling through Instagram. So that's something that that I really feel proud that we offer. And finally, I just want to mention our third member. She runs Mental Health Ohio, so that's her own activism campaign. Definitely check that out. And she writes her own section called Welcome to Class. She's a high school teacher. So she kind of writes from the perspective of like how to deal with kind of like, you know, how you mentioned that sometimes parents make it harder. And one of the ways they do that is kind of like the pressure of like, you have to do so well in school. And so, you know, she tackles things like the balance of school, of like life and like mental health in school. And so that's kind of her area. So anyway, so that's all available, totally free. And I hope you guys will take advantage of that, because I think, you know, it offers some real resources that give you perspective, and we always, at the end of them, we like Nancy always lists, for instance, like resources, places you can go to get help. So
I absolutely love all of that, especially having that information available on social media. Kids are on social media all day, every day. Unfortunately, we're never going to get to a world where kids are like, yeah, social media is not important, because that's how you stay connected. They're growing up in a world where you're connected via screen, which has so many amazing, amazing benefits and so many cons. But with all those benefits, if we're providing that information out there and we're making it easy for them to access in a way that they want to receive it, that is where we can make a real difference. Emma, the work that you are doing is absolutely incredible, and I am so honored to have had you as a guest. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, Fran, this has been just such an honor. Thank you for letting me talk and have a chance to talk about our initiatives and what we're working on. And please just know what an inspiration you've been to me. And you know, I just wanted to take a minute to thank everyone who's part of our community, because you know, I don't think of this as like my achievement. I think of this as our achievement. Like, we're where we are, we're a movement. And that's what I hope we, you know, really become a movement, because that's how we're going to help people. So thank you to everyone who's followed and anyone who is part of it. And thank you for having me, because, you know, my hope is that if people watch this, that, you know, it'll reach that many more people that can get some help, and maybe download Love Mom and check in on someone, or, you know, get you know, read about, you know, education, or get a resource. So thank you so much, Fran.